I told you to make it to Pride Month. I finally finished the AnderPerry analysis video, and I made it to Pride Month. Look, I'm kind of doing something here. Just take the CD. Fine, okay. It'll be great. Trust me. Real AnderPerry anthem too. So yeah, if you want to see how long can it take a 24-year-old who still lives with her parents, who recently watched Dead Poets Society about a month ago, how long can it take her to finish talking about AnderPerry? How do I start? First of all, the best that I could do is maybe finish the essay, maybe finish the entire script. Not even a script, it's a literal analogy. Okay, let me fucking show you. Look at that. Look at this. Look at it. I look at these. It's either more videos coming up, but this whole thing, all of that, the wall of text over there, that's all AnderPerry.
Concerned, but I'm not like you. You say things and people listen. I'm not like that. Don't you think you could be? No. I don't know, but that's not the point. The point is that there's nothing you can do about it, so you can just butt out. I can take care of myself just fine. All right? No. I mean, no. Give me the...
You may be thinking to yourself, gee, she looks like a well-adjusted 24-year-old. So this is it. I'm actually recording the AnderPerry video. Due to the not even big success of my recent video about Dead Poets Society, I have decided to continue making these videos. Whether or not there seems to be an audience for it, I have shown that video to a lot of friends already, and to be honest, that's the only place that matters. It's the opinion of the people I constantly barrage Dead Poets Society things. I forgot to use the mic. So I, like many other people who have recently watched Dead Poets Society, has been completely in love or obsessed or basically completely enamored by the 1989 film. And who wouldn't, okay? Let me just get my... Because, to put it bluntly, it's every teenager's dream angst story about schoolboys wanting to find out their purpose in the world, but in movie form. If you grew up with angst fan fiction of your ships, chances are you're in for a wild ride with the Dead Poets Society story and fandom. The thing is, this fucking movie, this specific movie, has so many things to talk about. It has everything. It has supportive friends. It has real depictions of schools who push their students to like the academic limits. They have teen rebellion, they have teachers like Mr. Keating, and of course, they have the dark academia aesthetic. For now, don't get me started on the dark academia part of things, because I just recently discovered it and I don't think I am like the right person to fully explain it. The best that I could explain and understand that particular genre is one, it's like a clothing thing, like it's some kind of aesthetic, but also as my friend said, it is apparently one of those when people challenge the idea of romanticism and they immediately show you the effects and the downsides and the truths of beauty, and like you can't have everything in the world basically. Even if you have beauty, all good things come to an end. My friend said something about beauty is scary or something like that. So you may be wondering why I made this video. Is it to discuss the themes handled by the movie? Like romanticism versus realism? Fuck no. Maybe in another video. There are several videos on that, and frankly, me doing another video would be redundant.
Why the fuck you lying?
But I think I might end up making a separate video for that. But anyway, am I here to shove AnderPerry down your throats? Because I'm a bisexual woman who grew up with BL comics and lived off gay K-pop fanfiction and currently touch-starved because I haven't seen my boyfriend in over a year now, and thus now I'm looking for some sort of semblance of love and trying to make something romantic. Not entirely, you know. We're not here to fetishize anything. We're just here to prove things right. I'm here to provide evidence. I'm here to lawyer the shit out of I don't know. I'm just here to prove that AnderPerry is valid and it exists. For many of us who ship AnderPerry, it is easy to dismiss the argument that they are straight because we accept the subtext, you know? People like me who already consume a lot of queer media, we tend to be a bit biased and we do end up looking for them. But what about those who are skeptical? Those who think they are platonic? This, of course, is just as valid as those who insist or speculate Neil and Todd are more than just friends. In this discussion, we are going to take a deep dive into both sides, okay? I'm not just here to be like a fangirl. I'm also here to analyze, okay? We're all here to have a good time. Since being bisexual kind of allows me to have some sort of a view in the heteronormative scope in things, as well as understand gay pining undertones from our favorite dark academia boys. I, for one, also grew up in an all-girl Catholic school, so I feel a lot of things in this movie. It really drives home certain things. And in this video, we'll be cutting it into 3 main parts. Okay? An introduction, if this one already isn't. An analysis section where we will dissect every single potential AnderPerry scene, and I have to give a straight explanation and also a reason why having gay subtext on it would actually mean a lot of things. And of course, a mini fangirl moment, which will be intercut with a lot of other takes I've had of this fucking video. I've had so many takes of this specific video, I could just intercut some of them together. So you're welcome. And of course, a conclusion. Reviews on themes will follow, I guess, in other videos, but specifically this one will focus mostly on AnderPerry scenes and analysis, not just themes. You know, come to think about it, it would be nice if I was dressed for the occasion, so this seems way more of a Heather's reference than it does Dead Poet Society, but we're going along with it because I'm stalling. One of my first points, and not entirely... Oh shit, you can see my código. One of my first points, and not entirely an argument, is that in scenes in which Neil and Todd show intimacy or any close bonds with each other, if the genders were reversed, if it was a guy and a girl, popular media would immediately ship them or immediately see some sort of romantic tone between them. How come in situations like these, if we were to say that there was gay subtext, do we find it an insult to the understanding of the closeness? It does not tarnish the message between them, neither does it change the ending. All it does is actually enhance and bring forth newer topics that you might not have thought of. It brings out new topics such as things in the dark academia spectrum of things, like those of young adolescents finding their way through the world. If you would argue that, even in a hetero standpoint, 2 characters with different genders exhibiting the same plutonic energy as Neil and Todd would be seen as platonic, if people weren't forcing a man and a woman to be together in every movie, sexually or romantically, that would prove that it is common knowledge that people would view the 2 lead characters who spend the most time together with intimate screen time together would be subject to the are they platonic or are they romantic kind of situation. If you need to argue or decipher if scenes were romantic or not, proves that people's interactions with people they are close to just depends on the understanding of levels of intimacy. Who among our friends become our close friends, and who among them do we fall in love with? So it's completely okay and valid for you to view their friendship as a straight, platonic friendship, and there's nothing wrong with depicting male friendships this way. And if it remains platonic, this is actually a good way to combat toxic masculinity because they're actually displaying intimacy without needing sexual or romantic tension between them. Even the interactions with other poets, they exhibit a healthy friendship in which they support each other in academics and in hobbies and even in dating, which we will get to later. So if you do view the boys in a platonic way, this video needn't be something you have to watch. You can go on with your day and you don't need me to sway your opinion. But I will digress as how viewing them in this relationship with the gay subtext or context can actually enhance the messages of the video. And I hope you have fun watching this. And just remember, this is for fun, but also, look, this fandom needs this. I need this. So, now we're here at the scenes and evidence or instances for examination. I will give you different scenes, iconic scenes of AnderPerry, other scenes of Neil and Todd in many different situations, basically when it's just the two of them or two of them interacting. In each scene, I will provide a straight explanation, a gay defense, and a fangirl response, the order of which will not be guaranteed. And also, it will be heavily intercut with some of the things I've recorded before this nice outfit change. So let's start. The roommate scene.
Oh my god,
and they were roommates. If you do not know that Vine, maybe you're young, maybe you just don't know the internet as much. So aside from the fact that this is a common fanfic trope,
what a coincidence would it be for you to fall in love with your roommate? Okay.
What a coincidence that you'll be roomies with the love of your life. Okay, sorry, I have to be serious about that. So, straight explanation.
So, literally, it's just dudes being roommates. There's nothing inherently gay about sleeping in the same room with a man. If you think that's gay, there's something messed up with you. Because, literally, you don't have to hate being in the same room as a guy for you to be straight. Completely fine for you to be in the same room as a guy. I noticed a lot of things in the movie after a lot of rewatching.
Neil was most likely assigned to Todd Anderson
because as exhibited in the movie and in the deleted scenes,
Neil is one of Welton's finest.
Probably around the same league as Todd's brother,
They probably assigned Todd to him because he knew he'd be a good influence. You can tell that this isn't just something Welton does, where you can find your roommate before you get to your own room. Possibly they did. I did see him coming from some sort of hall where there were a bunch of other people. But we do see Todd specifically waiting for Neil by the courtyard because he was probably turned around. How did Neil find him all of a sudden unless he was told what Todd looks like? He had to wait for Neil to specifically show him around the school or on the way to the dorm. So everyone else was already in their blazers and they already knew their way around the dorms. They just had to find out their roommate because they were all at the same school since elementary. As you can see, there were younger boys there. So knowing these kinds of characters, they probably would have been in this school since they were kids. So
if you've ever been in a dorm situation, you would just kind of find out your dorm mates when you arrive. But I think because Todd has a special case with the whole he came from Ballincrest and he is moving to Welton mid high school, so I think it's more of a special case that way, right? They specifically gave Neil and Todd the assignment to be roommates together. It's not just a coincidence, it's more of planned fate. They were planned to be together in the room, to be good influences. Okay, this wasn't even part in the script. I'm just having an epiphany right now. So new kid gets to hang out with the most eligible kid in the school. You can see why it is pretty cute. The shy new kid getting together with the most probably popular, but probably the most finest man. Okay, we're going.
Next, meeting the boys. So this necessarily isn't like an AnderPerry scene, but we do get to see more of Neil's personality as a person and how he is comfortable being able to let Todd see this side of him so early. So nothing necessarily gay about this scene. This scene is meant to establish the characters and the relationships. This scene, you can see and analyze Neil's personality without his father being around. The whole travesty, horror, decadence, excrement line. Perfect. Mwah, I love him. So we can tell that he is rebellious, and even if he is a studious person, you can tell that because they're still planning a fucking study group. I mean, the 50s are weird, guys.
You can contrast here how the relationship between Neil and his like friends, Knox, Meeks, and Charlie, of course, like when I first watched this, it's somehow established to me like they are like the cool kids. My immediate worry was for Todd, like, oh no, they're gonna be a bad influence and all that stuff. In my point of view, they have an established male friendship. In a way, you are to expect however Neil acts with his friends is how he normally acts with other people. So we can make that the benchmark for our Neil-Todd friendship. Is he treating Todd differently from his normal, already established friends? Wow, I came up with that out of my ass.
So, a forced gay explanation? I mean, if Charlie Dalton isn't what you imagine a bisexual guy to be, at least. We have the bisexuals, we have the nerds, we have the horribly straight, and the gays. Anyway, next is the locker room scene. Look, if you're comfortable with your sexuality and if you have decency, self-respect, respect for other people, it shouldn't be hard for you to be naked in the same room as other guys or other people with the same gender as you. If you're okay with taking a bath with other guys, great for you. Amazing, actually. It's called being comfortable with your sexuality. A boys' locker room is one with several connotations. You have people talking about toxic masculinity, but for now, I won't really touch on that. But there is often the subtext of male adolescence. The physical changes and the insecurity will peak around this time. And in this case, Todd, in this scene,
Then we see Todd just chilling on the side.
is waiting for his turn to take the shower. So he hasn't undressed yet. He's waiting for his turn, still in his gym clothes, very messy. You can tell that he's not really confident with his body image. So yeah, maybe that's why he's a bit nervous and stuff. Because he's just very shy and insecure, and it's okay.
Should we have that gay explanation yet?
Gay explanation? Or do I have to spoon feed why we think this is pretty gay? Like, I know we can joke about it. Like, I know it's like sometimes not nice to joke about gay stuff in the locker room.
Like, I don't want you guys to take me too serious with all the whole gay thing. You can interpret it as straight, you can interpret it as gay. I'm given the two options. So, you can obviously see, like, Todd, he's not, like, staring at anyone. Okay, up until Neil. Okay, so, like, he's spacing out, right? And then, of course, he gets, like, his attention taken by his roommate. His very proactive roommate who's inviting him to a study group. In a straight explanation, you know, you're very insecure, but you're also, like, being invited by your very sociable roommate to go to this get-together. It's not even a party. It's, like, literally a study group. There's no inherent bad thing that's going on. It's literally just a social interaction that Todd is afraid of, and that's adorable. Sometimes things do be gay. Sometimes, like, lingering at your homie do be kinda gay, though. It's fine.
Also, why did Neil have to ask Todd while he was in just a towel? Like,
Neil Perry had no business asking this in the actual locker room.
you know you can ask him when you're both fully clothed right before you leave your room, right? Like, he was also gonna be in your room. You could have just asked him around that time. Did it have to be you freshly showered and distracting for Todd?
Really, tell me, did it have to be in the locker room? I'm genuinely asking here.
Because it's okay, Todd. It was Robert Sean Leonard acting. We understand.
Do my eyes deceive me? Is that like he followed his ass away? You know, not to objectify, you know, like Neil, Robert Sean Leonard is a blessing on this earth. If Ethan Hawke's character was meant to stare, we don't judge. If Ethan Hawke himself as the actor, either was he told to do this, or was he just doing it on his own? Understandable. Understandable.
Next, I will most likely put this in another video, but I just really love the inconsistency in this one scene. We have Todd studying his chemistry in his room, and then we also have him here in the study hall. So you look forward to that in the next videos. So here we have one of the important shots of the film, in which Neil tries to convince Todd to join the Dead Poet Society meetings.
This particular scene is not inherently gay. Again, that's the straight explanation to a lot of things. Closest between guys, not gay. But in a film perspective,
The shot composition, first of all, is very on brand for the two of these guys. You do notice from the start of the film, they're filming a medium or wide shot because they are depicting how they are still strangers to both of us and to each other.
like the very small headspace that you are giving these two people, the way that they are shot, like over the shoulder, very intimate. Like, from their perspective, you are seeing somewhat how the characters would see each other.
This specific scene is the first of them being close to each other, and the shot is in close-up, guys. The shot is in close-up. Not only for, practical purposes because they were whispering, but also it's a way to capture their emotions and their faces, closing in on how important this specific conversation will be between the two of them.
As if you were in their shoes.
Neil is filmed facing Todd, so you could see him like that. However, Todd is filmed turning his back on Neil. Neil is the one who is taking the first step into becoming proper friends with Todd. Just saying.
Now, if you were anything like me and very much in love with either one of their faces at this point, that's probably what they felt. The conversation between them, obviously, it's just the very rebellious, proactive, fun guy trying to convince his very shy roommate to join in something for fun, and also because Neil already has the understanding on Todd and how anxious he is. In previous deleted scenes, he was able to see how much Todd hesitates to interact, to speak up for himself and all that stuff. So he's doing his due diligence as his roommate, as his assigned roommate, to join him in, to let him be a part of something. And I think obviously for Todd, because he's so defiant with this situation, he doesn't want to join, like, not because he doesn't like the whole thing. It's just the social interaction. Like, it's poetry. He likes the idea. You could see in the previous scene where they were talking to Mr. Keating, he liked the idea of, like, words dripping down their mouths like honey or something like that. So it's not the particular topic of it Todd doesn't like. He likes, like, the whole romantics of it, the whole talking about your feelings and all that stuff with the whole poetry and all that language and stuff. The thing Todd does have a problem about is, like, expressing that side of him, period. Trying to interact with people with the same interests as him, trying to be proactive, basically, like Neil. So it does take a man like Neil to bring him out of his shell, okay? That whole arc with Todd to be brought out of his shell. Now, does that sound very familiar with a lot of romantic tropes? Yes, Your Honor. Is that exclusive to only hetero things? No, Your Honor. So is it very valid to say that this is a case where you can both interpret this as platonic and romantic? Yes, very much, Your Honor. I rest one of my cases, but yeah, in this close-up scene, it's a pivotal moment. The reason why you would use such close-up scenes, right? These are very important parts between the two of them, okay? This isn't something like you just throw away, just like they're all far away, where the framing of the study group part is that they are whispering, they're far away. You do get close-ups of the map, so it's them establishing that they're doing something, but you want it to be more generalized, so like they don't focus fully on what they are saying, but you know the topic at hand, Okay? Versus, it is, yes, a topic that's general, which is just convince your friend, but the shot composition of it, to make it more intimate and to make it very close between the two of them, is showing that there is a friendship, there is a relationship forming with this conversation. This is an important conversation that will be greatly affected by how Neil and Todd play this out. So luckily, Neil was able to pick up on what Todd doesn't like. So he knows, like, he understands Todd's plight. It's not because Todd doesn't want to be with his friends. Like, Todd's problem was... Problem was, he said that everyone took turns reading and he doesn't want to do that. And of course, Neil goes like, gosh, you really have a problem with that, don't you? You can tell that his tone is half concerned, half... this is a bit of irony for Neil, because, like, Neil wanting to do something about something, right? His willingness to change an outcome before it happens is being displayed here, which is ironic because if you know anything about Neil in this movie, he is able to project onto Todd and sees himself in Todd. He sees himself in Todd. He could see, like, somebody who is scared, just like him, and doing his best. He's doing his best so that Todd is comfortable and Todd knows his choices, because he didn't grow up with a lot of choices for himself, so he had to think of ways to evade choices that were made for him or evade choices that he couldn't make. So you see here how Todd thinks his only answer is not to join because he doesn't like the method. So Neil gave him choice, which is, maybe you don't have to do the thing you don't like. You can just attend and just keep the time, right? And he doesn't give Todd, ironically, another choice. Like, he says that and then he bolts. Like, yeah, I'm gonna tell the others you're joining anyway, bye. The duality, really. Like, it's ironic, but it's also poetic. In a way, he has developed the thing he doesn't want from his dad, which is like forcing something onto someone else who doesn't want it, but also he is using the thing that he knows, like he has learned about himself, which is bringing out choices for yourself that you didn't really think of or think you could have. That's why this scene is so sweet.
More of that when I do more cinematography talk about this movie. This movie has so many fucking things great about it. That it's not just the story, but the technical aspect of... I've watched every interview and every other random video connected to it. Okay, so we'll get to that.
So you can tell the cave scene straight, like, unironically healthy, normal boys. Yes, they do look at a Playboy page, but they're teenage boys. They just like boobies, especially in the 1959. Boobies. Let them like it. And sorry, I'm watching it. Todd's like shining out the boobs. These boys are bi. These boys are bi confirmed. Oh my god. Oh my god. Like, the fact that Neil had to scooch over and check both sides of the paper. Like he also wiggled his eyes like, what? Anyway, it's just funny. Let's go by representation. It's just so cute that their reaction to movies. Movies? And also poetry, like the Charlie's poetry for sure. Yeah, he's like, glad I came. Todd's like, yeah, glad I came. Oh yeah, best decision ever. Woo! They're still very much straight boys in the scene. You can tell your friend that you just met brought you somewhere unfamiliar but benefited you. So like, that's plus friendship points. If you were a sim, if Todd was a sim, his plus points for Neil went up. So here's an argument I have versus people who say, oh, so you're just gonna think everyone's gay in that show? Meeks and Picks. Wow. This scene where they are danced, you could throw it away as some sort of gay joke if you are trying to do that and trying to be funny. This one just seems like fun, right? And the fact that it's just like the act itself reminds you of the gay I guess, like, it doesn't take much for you to assume things are gay. But if you look at it through a more serious tone, you could tell there's like no intimacy going on, because they are one, like they know how silly the dance is, and that's why they are dancing with each other, because they are actually celebrating something. And you can see how different like a silly interaction like that is versus something like in a close-up shot talking to people like more seriously. So this one's more of like a celebration, hang out with your bud, like, bro, our thing works, and then like celebrate and all that stuff. That's like the one of like the most healthy depictions of like bros being bros, like that term, bros being bros, because you're not like afraid to be seen gay with each other. You guys are just like having fun, right? That whole act where if from the outside looking in, you would immediately go like, ha, gay moment. That's like a very shallow way of thinking about it, right? But yeah, basically, you can only give straight explanations for the Meeks and Pitts dance scene because they're just two nerds who finally got their radio to work, and they're finally listening to music and they're dancing because that's what you do with music. You have good old fun. If I were to give the gay explanation, if I were forced to, it wouldn't feel right, because if it just means dancing very silly to a song, which everyone does in any occasion, with or without a partner, they're mocking a romantic pair where they're like shimmying with each other, holding hands. But yeah, I do have to give a hand to those who would argue that me not seeing something like gay about it, and those who do see something kind of gay about it, it's completely valid if like that's all it takes is for you to enjoy like, the company of your loved one, right? So it really does depend on like the intimacy level of the viewer. So if I don't necessarily view that as romantic, right, that's fine. But if you don't necessarily see it as just platonic and you think there's something between them, that's completely fine as well. In the topic of AnderPerry versus Meeks and Pitts, their moments are very few put together. They're like the two nerds. Like that's how they're framing them. You could also like argue with the whole composition and like framing of the two. They aren't framed romantically, but they are framed as very classic nerds. And remember, this was the 1980s basically. It was produced in the 1980s. And there wasn't there's not like a big rise on like nerd culture yet, so they just put two nerds together. But they all put a bunch of nerds. It's a whole school of nerds. This group is a whole group of nerds. Okay, so anyway, moving on to the scene.
Next, this particular scene. I think in this scene I will also, I will let my past self talk about it more, because I think she had a lot of feelings filming this one.
Okay. So the scene, one of the most iconic AnderPerry scenes known to man. So we see Todd here writing about his lovely poem, which if you do end up watching like the deleted scenes, he does end up sharing the full poem, and it's adorable. He's a good writer. So we have here an insecure little baby boy writing passionately about like a good poem, and then enters his roommate, and Todd hides the poem. You can also see how excited Neil is to tell Todd. Okay, so this scene happens within like the whole, they're doing their extracurriculars. So we have Cameron and Charlie doing their rowing. We have Meeks and Pitts not doing a thing. We have Sticks doing fencing. Meets and Picks. I can't believe I'm saying Meets and Picks. Meeks and Pitts are doing their science experiment. And we have Neil and Todd. They're both in the soccer team based on the deleted scenes. So them being both free means they didn't have their soccer thing that day. So they have a lot of free time. And Neil, knowing that he couldn't find his other friends, I don't know where Knox is, but okay, I can confirm Knox has soccer also, but I don't know why Neil didn't go to him. There we go. Charlie's also at soccer, but he also is rowing. So here, one of your closer friends is free. Neil tells his roommate first. And to anyone who's ever had like a good roommate before, if you have developed like a close bond with your roommate, you would tell them immediately. That's a straight explanation. I don't know what you guys are like thinking that would suddenly make this gay. But could you see the way he looks at him? He's so happy. He runs into his happy to tell Todd about the play because what? It's like this has nothing to do with Todd. But like he knows Todd knows about his father. He knows Todd knows about like what he feels in like the Dead Poet Society. So like it's all about like carpe diem and stuff. He also knows that Todd can't do anything about stopping. Anyway, so he also knows that Todd would be a good roommate to him. Keep in mind, he thinks this. He thinks Todd would be supportive or at least go along with it based on his personality. So he's like happy, he's bouncing, he's talking about how like I've always wanted to do this, and he was able to emphasize that his father didn't want it, so that's why he's like so happy. Todd knows about like the whole story. So I would assume in like the dynamic between the two of them, Neil does like rant about his dad. Like just for Todd to understand him more. Neil feels like the type of guy who would rant about his father to a random like stranger, and like Todd would just like in his sheets like, true bestie, yeah, what, legit? Or he wouldn't even speak. He would just like, oh, that's rough, buddy. That's the kind of kid Todd would be. And here, seeing as Todd, happy for Neil, and like Neil is happy for the response. And then we get to the part where he tries to defy Neil. Like he tries to be sociable. Todd is doing his best to like give suggestions because that's what Neil is teaching him, to be more outward because that's what he's learning. And then it happens like a 180. There's like a 180 where Neil shouts or yells,
Jesus, Todd, whose side are you on?
At poor baby boy Todd, and look at this fucking face. This is the face of somebody who tried to come out of their comfort zone and was immediately answered with backlash. That is a scared baby. We will protect Todd. We have already started the Protect Todd committee. This is who we are protecting. Protect Todd. On the other hand, the president of the Protect Todd committee immediately regrets this. We see the immediate, like literally, it's the same, it's like within the seconds he said that. Neil's attitude or like, Neil's face shows immediate regret. Immediate. The best explanation I could give this, and I've told like other people, was that he knew he sounded like his father. Especially if you grew up with a strict household. If you already know that you've grown up in an abusive household, you pick up on the things that the people who are mean to you tell you. So Neil, being the smart guy that he is, realized his tone, and he hasn't said sorry yet. Like he didn't learn how to say sorry. He doesn't say sorry. He takes back like the paper. Obviously, people who grew up with like a household who never taught you how to say sorry, their coping mechanism, or at least like the way they fix things, is to move on to the next topic or double down. So he tries to convince Todd to join them in the next meeting, and Todd, again, he was already starting to feel happy. Todd was once again back in his shell, and Neil, what did you expect? What did you expect him to say after you just traumatized the poor baby? What did you expect? So obviously, Todd doesn't want to join. But like, Neil doubles down on being more mean to him. And of course, we get like the epic argument that these guys have, which is, of course, Todd goes like, so you want me out? Like you don't want to be friends with me anymore? Huh? Is that what you're trying to say? And of course, Neil, again, he was never really taught how to say sorry. The way of trying to be remorseful is kind of being angry. So the best way he could say I'm sorry is I want you in. So this is him saying, despite you being a spineless baby, Todd, I want you in the premises of that cave with me. Like, friendship wise, look, he still likes the company of his friend. He just doesn't know how to say sorry. Case for the gays, he's like, no baby, please, I'm sorry. He's trying to take back the oopsie he did by doing this scene. And of course, Todd goes, I'm not like you, blah blah, I can take care of myself. If that is not the most bottom sub brat thing you have ever heard, I don't know. Like, we are categorizing him as brat as of this moment. Like, Todd, this is an undercover brat. He is a submissive bottom brat. We You know it, I know it, baby. So he's being a brat right now, and Neil, he's back to dom mode, or basically, okay, this is getting gayer and like more fangirly and like more inappropriate, but basically, yes. Neil proceed to assert dominance with one single word. Like, have you ever seen so much power? Have you ever seen like so much power? Robert Sean Leonard. Yeah, could you imagine being in Todd's position? Especially like the composition in this. The reason why it's so intense, again, they're using close-ups of their face. The reason why you put close-ups of their faces is that you would get the specific expressions, right? And the fact that these two guys are really good actors, they're showing exactly what the character should be feeling at this moment. So Neil is making an executive decision to stop being a bitch to Todd and actually be his boyfriend, actually be like a good friend and motivate Todd again. So he said,
No.
and then Todd is taken aback because like he said this whole spiel. Todd said everything. Todd said all this and that. And then the son of a bitch dom boy who insulted him mere seconds ago, mere moments ago, gives him one word back? What do you think this sub's gonna do? What do you think this boy's gonna say? What do you mean, no? Like, perhaps this is me digging too deep into the gay. Perhaps I have had too many relationships. I have read too many fan fiction. I have read too many boys love gay manga. Perhaps I have seen too many Yuri mangas. Perhaps I've seen too many hetero mangas to know this particular interaction has a lot of romantic undertones to it. I may be literally the only one, and I could be crazy. Like, it's really rare, and I really do hope that when you have this interaction with your friends, you have a best friend that does that to you. A best friend who says they will take care of you because you can't take care of yourself. Or at least you are telling your friend, no, you can't take care of yourself. Flat out. If you have a friend that genuinely thinks that and wants to stay with you because of that, it's beautiful. And you reserve that usually for best friends, right? What
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not.
What led to Neil Perry thinking he could do this to a roommate he just met? Because he is actively pursuing Todd. The most interesting part about this scene as well. I need a moment. I need a fucking moment. Neil fucking Perry. When asked, what did he mean? No. His answer was the same answer plus a fucking smirk. Fellas, question I have asked my straight brothers, my straight boyfriend, other people who aren't straight as well. Fellas, is this scene straight? Because if this happens, because I guess this has already happened to me with my relationships, but does this ever happen in platonic relationships? How do you not just fall in love with your friend? Neil Perry answers to a bratty bottom sub like Todd, teasing him, and maybe someone, not me, people with a tease kink maybe don't appreciate how manipulative this interaction is because of how effective it is. So Todd is still very much confused, just like us. When Neil yoinks his notebook and makes him chase him around their bedroom, and then he reads it, and I quote, says, "We are dreaming of a day. Oh, it's poetry. I'm being chased by Walt Whitman." Just Google this right quick. Walt Whitman. Why was Walt Whitman controversial? His work was controversial in its time, particularly his poetry collection Leaves of Grass, which was described as obscene for its overt sensuality. Whitman's own life came under scrutiny for his presumed homosexuality. But yeah, really, I mean, you and your homies running around, like just you and one homie, not all the homies yet, because they do eventually do this with Cameron and Charles and some other random guy. I think Pitts is in there with the bongos or some random kid. But the scene between the two of them, like, yes, the scene where they do run around is very like classic guys being guys, because they're just roughhousing. That's just roughhousing. The scene that preceded it, like, I'm really trying to find like a straight explanation for that one scene. Like, in a normal situation, if this is like in real life, there's a 70% chance that was a straight interaction. The 30%, the composition of it immediately. Scene composition. So again, we can notice whenever there's like a close-up shot between the two of them, it is important to develop their relationship as friends. You have to get the particular acting face of each of them. This is like everyone's comfort scene for Neil and Todd. You are not alone. This is like, you can enjoy this as a straight scene, but I hope you sleep well at night thinking, wow, those two friends, like, I hope you would go home and wish you had that kind of friendship, okay? If you had that type of relationship, like romantically, if that's what you're looking for, I also wish you have that. I also wish that, you have a great friendship with whoever you have that kind of thing with, because like that doesn't happen. That rarely happens. I mean, I guess coming from like an all-girls school and like friendships like those, yes, it's very common to like steal your friend's stuff. I have these group of friends who always steal each other's like pencil cases and like hide them, our stuff basically. So it's very normal. I get it. This whole thing is very normal. But again, to be preceded by something so romantic, I don't even want to sound dumb anymore. Cause like at the end of the day, it's just me sounding like someone who's fetishizing this, and I'm not. I genuinely feel the intimacy because I know that feeling. Like from Todd's perspective or from Neil's perspective. Like it's a realistic feeling that I'm not forcing, but because I know the feeling, I feel technically what their characters could feel. And that's called projection.
So yeah, did you have a good time with her? Did she tell you nice things about the scene? What'd she tell you? Yeah, you guys talked about the regret? Yeah? You guys talk about like that joke she made about Neil being the president of the Protect Todd committee? Okay. So, long story short, Todd is a bratty sub confirmed. Next. Aside from that, wholesome guys being wholesome after a gay scene. Oh, sorry. But yeah, the difference between Neil teasing Todd by stealing his notebook versus stealing Cameron's notebook to mess with him is that Neil used the act to deflect thick tension between him and Todd to cheer Todd up, versus he was messing with Cameron just to punish him for barging into their intimate moment together. Also because I think they just really like to bully Cameron sometimes. Thus, leading to a lot of roughhousing between all the guys, and you get like a wholesome guy moment. Before that, it was romantic. After that, wholesome epic bro moment. But, like that's the straightest way I can explain that scene without fangirling as much as I was meant to. Okay, next. Next, Neil tells his homies about the play. Okay, so Neil first exclaims to Charlie that he got the part. But note, this is only to express his good friendship with Charlie, because they've been friends longer than with Todd, the one who would care a lot, or at least as much. But you can also note it is also because in this particular scene, Charlie was the last person to exclaim the soccer kick scene. So he was the one who said, "To indeed be a god," and then we immediately switched to Neil. So to me, that's like a really good cinematic transition, like a what do you call it, like editorial transition. Like, but it also could mean Neil's close friendship with Charlie.
Neil marches down and being happy because he got the part. He got the puck part. And can I just say, that's the happiest baby boy. So obviously he tells his best friend first. He shouts, "Charlie, I got the part." But obviously that was because Charlie was the guy in the last scene. So that's just like really good. But like that's really good editing. So the person who was recently on screen, Neil addresses him first, but obviously his best friend. It is heavily implied that Charlie and he has been best friends since before, right? The fact that he calls him Slick, they know each other's like summer stuff, best friends. And you can see how differently he acts between Charlie and how differently he acts between Todd. Because they grew up with each other, they have almost a similar personality type. So they're the two romantics of the group, obviously. Spoilers, they're both the kids who don't end up being at the standing table scene. I'm editing again because I forgot to add or film this part. So literally that scene. So to prove that Neil and Charlie are basically two peas in a pod, like the same personality, kind of, like the two romantics, the scene where Mr. Keating tells the boys to stand up on the desk. Literally, with no hesitation and no prior agreement, both Neil and Charlie immediately stand up from their desks. Like, they were the first ones to react and like follow the whole standing on the desk thing. And of course Neil gets to stand on it first. So like, yeah, Charlie is the rebellious, impulsive guy, but so is Neil, you know. Thank you, have a nice day, continue watching. So they are the two outliers of the group, but they present two different ways of being rebellious at that kind of age. So we have someone like Charlie who is, you know, very loud and very chaotic. I made this like alignment chart, tag yourself. So in the alignment chart you can see how they're both chaotic, but obviously Neil is in the good part, Charlie's in the evil. So the reason why you don't get like a lot of like love, like love stuff or romantic stuff between the two is because of how similar they are. You know how opposites attract? You do attract people who would fill in the parts of you that need fixing, or like the parts of that need more attention or need reassurance and all that stuff. And because both Neil and Charlie have like a similar, I guess, background, being in Welton, like possibly having like parents who force things about them, there isn't much that they could fight on. And as you can see, where Charlie did try to tell Neil to stand up to his father, he views like Charlie's point of view as something that isn't helpful because of how he views Charlie and his friendship. Like, yeah, I know, like, you're looking out for me, but you know for a fact who my dad is. Like, you know what my dad is like, and you can't, like, you also know how your parents are like, and you know that we can't do that kind of thing. Like, I'm really happy that Neil has like a healthy relationship with Charlie. So basically, Neil is the mom of the group. Can't tell me otherwise. There's like the chaotic drunk Homer dad, which is Charlie. The mom of the group is Neil, and the baby of the group is Todd. Can't fight me on that. So in this part, as Neil types his forged letter with Todd, Todd tries to reason with Neil, but Neil's too giddy to actually be rational right now, and bringing Todd along his mischievous plans. Todd, as you can see, finds it very endearing regardless, even if he knew this was a bad idea. He just likes seeing Neil happy, okay? Oh yeah, I was supposed to make a straight explanation for this. Brain, think. Oh, I have to explain why he does the nya. Help, guys. Straight boys can be cute too.
Oh, yes, I am. Neil, you're crazy. This is great. Wail and cry and scream.
Fellas, that's the look of love. Someone who is astonished and amazed, jaw dropped, in love.
I honestly do not have a straight explanation for this specific look. Please do comment below if you see your friends doing something like this and you genuinely make this face. Please, I need to know. Please, I need to know.
I'm really trying not to make like a very shallow assumption of gayness. Look, this is the part where I tell everyone who keeps trying to straight wash them or keep trying to tell me that they are platonic. Do you honestly expect people to not have like a hint of gay subtext right there?
Straight explanation. Neil is really supportive.
And the straight explanation that I could give is Neil finally seeing the fruits of his labor, which is basically him finally seeing Todd come out of his shell, finally exhibit true self, or at least his true talent. Because he knew this, he had this all along, but he was still amazed at how good Todd was able to come up with the poems. That wow, Todd was actually really good, but at the same time, damn, shit, he looked kind of hot trying to tell me about sweaty tooth madman. Sheesh. Like that kind of feeling. Like this face is the look of love, fellas. Was there ever a scene in any like popular media, like literally, even if this does happen in real life, when you leave a shot like that in a movie, it means that there is something significant with that particular face Neil was making. Go ahead, you can think of the straight explanation all you want. AnderPerry will always have that look of love. AnderPerry shippers will always have that look of love. And have you ever, oh my god, because like that happens with your closer friends, but you only reserve it to people like you just met because you're in love with them. Infatuation, fellas, this is what it is.
So happy. Okay, please watch the scene carefully. He tackles Neil. I wouldn't have known that information if I wasn't on Tumblr. Please go to Tumblr. Follow my Tumblr. So the scenes in which the boys are in their cave smoking pipes. Also the first time Todd smokes, so just take note of that. The audacity of this scene.
If I don't have Chris, I'm gonna kill myself. No, actually.
The audacity of this scene to cut to Neil and Todd when Knox says he wants to himself is so rude, and how dare they? Hello?
Oh, foreshadowing methods of American literature, writers called, and they want their technique back.
So yeah, and then we immediately cut to Knox's payphone scene, and one of the most iconic images of AnderPerry is apparently this one, which I may have saved and drew up. That one. But yeah, this was one of the first images that really showed me that AnderPerry was real. So, one of the many instances where something hetero or romantic is ongoing in the audio, but the shots are between Neil and Todd. They aren't able to say it out loud or between each other or to themselves. So they let their friends express it for them and let the feelings just be between their gazes. Like, this is about Knox, right? Why the fuck would there be a close-up between two boys unless they were in love? Coincidence? I think not. So make of it what you will. Straight explanation, it's just cutting between scenes. But are you really gonna stand there and tell me that they didn't purposely intercut their scenes? There will be more instances.
Hey, what's going on?
So the Aerodynamic Deskset, one of the most intimate yet arguably, the straightest scene that I could actually explain. No, before all of the AnderPerry fans like me and all the other people in the fandom attack me why I think this is straight, I know that most of us will attribute this scene as one of the most romantic and iconic scenes between the two of them. But I actually can accept this as an example of them being straight, or at least like exhibiting like normal straight people bonds. Is that like the right word? Like a normal bond between two straight guys. Because, okay, for one thing, Robert Sean Leonard and Ethan Hawke actually had a hand at writing the scene. I'm not sure where I can insert that, but there's a specific interview where Peter Weir needed them to rewrite the scene because the scene was a bit different. It was supposed to go a bit differently. It was something about,
Hi, Editor Ame here. So, yeah, don't mind the nails. So, what I was trying to explain here was a part in the interview that
and I remember I was supposed to have this monologue about where I said 428, and Bob was like, "What's 428?" And I said, "That's what all the chemicals in your body be worth if you bottled them up and sold them raw." And that's what my father said I was worth. And
that's what his father told him. Like, that was like the original scene. Like, Todd was supposed to go like say stuff about like,
Bob, I'm sure, would tell a story differently. I'm trying to remember it. It didn't really work very well, the scene, and Peter came over and stopped shooting and said, "This isn't working. Cut. Let's stop. We need to rethink the scene. It's flat. It feels like a scene. It doesn't feel real. I don't believe it." I remember saying to Peter, I said, "I just would never be this self-pitying in front of another guy my own age. I just would never do that." And he's like, "You're right."
and it just didn't fit right, I guess, for the whole situation, and apparently it felt redundant. So they wanted to cheer Todd up instead, because it was already established Todd was a sad boy, was a sad baby boy, sad anxious baby boy. So they needed this scene to make Neil and Todd like really good friends. Like that was their goal, and that's why Robert Sean Leonard and Ethan Hawke was able to come up with this scene.
beep beep, Editor Ame again. So I just noticed the scene where Neil and Todd, the film composition of it, for Todd, it has like more of a tight headshot like this. For Neil, it's like closer to a medium shot because you can still see half of his body. But the fact that it has a close-up of Todd means this is an important part for Todd. Like for Neil, because he is ironically cheering somebody else up, even though he knows in his heart that he can't fix his own thing, like he's still a bit somewhat detached from the situation because it's an awkward thing for him. But even though he's trying, but for Todd, like a small headspace. Because you're supposed to see his reaction, and his reaction is genuinely, oh my god.
It was from the point of view of two straight guys, and this is how they can interpret a healthy development of friendship. Another is that it's a simple act of friendship. You don't really need lingering eye contact or quiet moments because you just want to cheer someone up, even if you can't do it for yourself. And that's what Neil did for Todd. Okay, fangirl moment, okay. Neil! Fanfics are made out of the scene, fellas, everyone. Look how sweet Neil is to Todd. Literally, Neil tried his best to cheer up Todd on his fucking birthday. And like, he can't do that for himself, but he can do that for Todd. And Todd was so happy. Like, he finally knows what it's like to have a BFF. Like this literal scene made Neil and Todd close friends. Like, legitimately, this particular scene solidified their friendship. If before it was just a bunch of bouncing around, this specific scene established to Todd that this guy cares about me and this guy is here for the long run because unlike my parents, he's there for me. Unlike Jeffrey, he doesn't steal the spotlight. In fact, he wants me to be everywhere with him, to take me into a spotlight as well. Jesus Christ. I love them. And then, yeah. We have another... Okay, sorry. We have another cave scene here wherein Charlie brings in some girls. Both Neil and Todd, like, I'm not saying that they're gay. I'm saying they're bisexual. Both Neil and Todd's reactions are valid. It doesn't mean they're gay, and or they don't need to exclusively only like men for there to be some sort of gay subtext to be visible. And we can see Charlie. So again, one of the hetero in the audio, Neil and Todd in the foreground moments, is when Charlie recites his scenes to the girls, and specifically, Neil and Todd were looking at each other in those scenes. Maybe it was for jest because they were making fun of Charlie for trying to impress a bunch of girls. But the line "She walks in beauty like the night" was showing Meeks and Pitts reacting to Charlie. But the lines in Cloudless Climbs shows Todd looking up at Neil, and Starry Skies, Neil looking at Todd briefly. People, it's not hard to see that this poem was made for them. Like, I'm already looking for it, but like it was there. Like, they just did that in front of you. Like, Charlie's here trying to impress a bunch of girls, and we show Neil and Todd absolutely smitten. There was also a scene where Neil was about to drink whiskey offered by Tina, and he looks at Todd and Cameron's direction for some sort of approval. Or was it because he wanted approval from Todd because, like, can your boyfriend get a drink from a girl who's gonna have like an indirect kiss or something? I don't know. Before we get to the play part, let's have a speed round on deleted scenes.
Todd, if you're gonna make it around here, you gotta learn to speak up. They don't make it into Harvard.
So one of the instances where like Todd is experiencing a 180 in Neil's personality is when it comes to his father. So from the very start, Todd knows Neil has daddy issues. Did I stutter? So from the very start, Todd is well established to be shy. Neil is well established to have daddy issues. And in a way, they probably both have daddy issues, but they have parent issues nonetheless. Instantly, there's some sort of connection between them, or at least an understanding, but they have yet to accept they need each other's help. So, I didn't put a script on this. So in this scene where they're picking out their sports, Neil looks over at Todd, who is very nervous about things. We can definitely see how nervous Todd is, and Neil is like concerned because like, bruv, it's a problem. Why you being a... Okay, I'm just saying. This scene where they were practicing, guys, we were heavily robbed. This is a crime. It's basically a war crime, what they've done. They have robbed us of the scene where Neil and Todd were practicing Neil's lines. I'm not entirely sure if this was before or after he got the part, because I was writing a fic about, like, connected to this scene. He says something about, if I get this part, then I can live. He said something about living an exciting life if he gets a part. But he already has the hand props from the production. He already has the hand props of the production. But either way, he's happy, he's practicing with Todd. There was a small part in their dialogue where there's many instances. I think they removed this because I think it was too explicitly gay. I'm 100% sure they removed this scene. It's too gay. Like, it's overloaded with so much like gay subtext. Context. It's not even subtext anymore. It's smack dab in your face gay. Because, so for one thing, they're practicing together. Neil whacks him on the butt or the back with a stick. Sure, I guess. Next, he says, "Oh, I love this." And then Todd responds with what? "Me? Mr. Anderson, I didn't know you had the guts in you to say that." We also have Neil immediately being defensive. What? No! Immediately being defensive. And then something, he tries to get Todd to join. He tries to bait Todd by using a girl who plays Hermia. The girl who plays Hermia is amazing. And Todd goes like, "Oh, what does she look like?" Because at first, he was trying to get Todd to join, and Todd was like, "No, I don't want to." But like, Neil was like, "What if there was a girl?" And then Todd's like, yo? And Neil's like, "Yo, no." So yeah, so he immediately deflected that part of the conversation and resumed practicing. And then you suddenly get a part here where you see Todd showing his like truer self with Neil. Like there's other scenes here where in this particular scene he bumps with Neil. Like he shows how more like how physical they are. They're how expressive Todd is as a person, especially when they're alone. Like with Neil, he's like that because he's comfortable with Neil. And this was before the aerodynamic desk set. So my sneaking suspicion, they decided not to keep this in because maybe it was too obviously gay. It was too obviously gay. I don't know if you guys caught that. Todd was watching and his lips were moving because he also memorized the lines. He's attentive, guys. Before I get sadder. Okay, so yeah. Todd's reaction with the scene. He's very happy. So that's cute. Now comes the part. Yeah, we're not. I'm not. I'm not gonna. Nuh-uh. Okay, I will have her discuss this specific deleted scene wherein they were at the cave and it was meant to be intercut with Neil's scene. So in the first parts of this scene, Todd actually says out loud,
If I ever see Neil's father again, I'm gonna kill him.
Todd is finally showing like a side of him that is more proactive because he feels the need to protect his friend. So aside from that, being aggressive, a sign of like being protective and aggressive for your boyfriend. Sorry. When Mr. Keating arrives to the cave, he asks for after they've done like the whole intro thing and they convince him to recite the poem, he asks who wants to volunteer. Todd is the first to volunteer and this is his first time reading a poem in front of the other guys, but without Neil. Neil was not here to witness Todd finally reciting his poem. The poem that he was writing before Neil showed him about Midsummer Night's Play. In essence, Neil was the first one to see that poem. Though incomplete, just like with a lot of things in life, basically with how he should have handled his situation. It was incomplete and he wasn't able to see the fruits of his labor. Because if he was actually there to read, to listen to the poem, here, I'll read you guys the poem. Not that I saved it or not that I wrote it for part of a fanfic. So, the poem reads, if you guys have seen the book as well, you would have seen the full poem. So, the poem is, we're dreaming of tomorrow and tomorrow isn't coming. We're dreaming of the glory that we don't really want. We're dreaming of a new day when the new day is there already. When we're running from a battle, when the battle is one that must be fought, and still we sleep. We're listening for a calling, but never really heeding, hoping for a future when the future is only plans, dreaming of a wisdom we are dodging daily, praying for a savior when salvation's in our hands. And still we sleep, and still we dream, and still we fear, and still we pray, and still we sleep. Why didn't you tell us the Neil? Neil, like, you know what hurts the most? Neil should have heard this poem, but this poem was intended to be intercut with Neil's scene. The amount of irony, dramatic irony, literary irony, whatever you want to call it, god damn, if they actually pulled through that. I might edit that. Imagine if that actually happened. Like, I would lose my shit if they actually did edit that. Even though I could edit that right now. The fucking audacity of this film to cut so deep. Right? To cut so deep and go that direction. To put so much connection between Neil and Todd. Anyway, let's move on with me discussing a part that will probably make me cry or like disassociate. I don't know. So we're here. Are you thriving? I'm not. Being somebody who kins Neil, I say kinning Neil a lot. Not quite sure what they mean by kinning, but I assume it means you relate a lot to Neil. So yeah, not only did I watch my favorite character die, essentially, I had to watch his boyfriend, roommate, his best friend currently, find out about it. And I think that hurts just as much as seeing the scene where Neil, the thing is with this scene,
You're sick of me by now. I forgot to add this part. So, if they had kept the deleted scene in which Neil and Todd were practicing, that would have been an amazing parallel to Todd screaming at the dock for Neil's name. Because that's their spot. That was their spot. That's all I wanted to say. I just want you to think about that. That would have been their spot if they kept the dock scene. Okay, continue. I'm sorry. That's the last. I promise.
you see, the thing is, when Todd is saying it is beautiful, that the snow is beautiful, two things. He's basking at something that is often seen as tragic, basking at something that is often a sign of things slowing down and things ending, like the winter time. He's basking at how beautiful it is. It is somewhat of a foreshadowing or a juxtaposition to his situation right now. In a way, he's not talking about the snow. Obviously, he's not talking about the snow. He's saying this before he actually knows what he's saying, because that's how advanced he is as a poem boy. There is something about Neil's passing as poetic, because he's finally free. In essence, it's beautiful, but as we see, Todd vomiting immediately after him calling it beautiful, that's literally when reality bites you in the ass when it comes to romantics, when it comes to romanticism. We like to think certain things are beautiful in the name of art, in the name of poetry, in the name of calling things beautiful. Just like Todd. But things are not like that. Just like your body, society, reality, real things in life that will affect you after something poetic will affect you. Thus the retching. A better way to understand Todd's reaction is to juxtapose it with Charlie's reaction. Because again, this is still an AnderPerry analysis video. But because this topic, we are discussing why we should see it as Todd being in love with Neil and the passing of somebody he's in love with, you can juxtapose that to Charlie. A great example of a best friend that Neil has platonic feelings about reacting to his death. People have many different ways of reacting and coping with the death of a loved one. Seeing as Charlie has been friends with Neil longer than Todd, it makes sense that he knew about Neil's death earlier and was the one to break it to Todd. But here's when you see the difference between Neil's friendship with Charlie and Neil's friendship with Todd. As you can see at the very start, Charlie is obviously just as hurt. At first, he is reacting in a somber manner. He cried, obviously, and we see him break the news to Todd after he's cried. While Todd's first reaction was to actually run outside or vomit and to be in denial. So just a minor thing, according to an interview with Ethan Hawke and other cast members, originally the script called for Todd's scene where he's finding out and crying. He was first supposed to, puke after knowing, and then they had to run to the bathroom, and that's where they have that scene, the specific scene. But on the day that they were filming it, because they film everything chronologically, it was snowing on set. So they didn't want to waste the snow, and Peter Weir decided to let them film outside because, according to him, you wouldn't stay inside, you would go outside, you would look at the snow, and you would feel and you would bask at the snow and feel your feelings. It's like an artist thing, like it's like one of those things where you just have to take a while and look at something that isn't your situation. So in the bathroom scene, if it was the original script, Todd was supposed to be actually way more angry, and he was supposed to have a more cohesive speech against like Neil's father, as we see here in the winter scene. It was supposed to be more detailed. It was supposed to be more clear that he had a hate for Neil's father due to the outcome of what just happened. This could be. So knowing that, the difference between Charlie and Todd's reaction, you could see this as Charlie has most likely known Neil's troubles with his dad longer, and seems to have coped or tried to talk to Neil about it before. You could see it being exhibited at the start of the movie where Charlie's trying to tell Neil to speak up to his dad, but Neil doesn't exactly follow Charlie's warning or Charlie's instructions, and also dismisses it as Charlie just being hypocritical or Charlie just being Charlie. And that will actually be in like a future video when I talk about like characters. Whereas Todd's physical reaction was one of shock and anxiety. And knowing Todd, this might have been the peak of his anxiety because the person who helped him alleviate his anxiety is suddenly gone. So, same attachment, different personality types, different perspectives of Neil. When Todd erratically runs out into the snow, Charlie is the one who tells the others to leave him be. He knows how Todd is feeling at that moment, and even if he doesn't express it the same way, he lets Todd be in his feelings. So basically, both Charlie and Todd had the strongest emotions out of the whole group towards Neil's death. Charlie's case is routed in anger because he knew that there was a system against his friend, be it the school, Cameron, Mr. Perry himself, while Todd's reaction was sadness and denial because to him, it was a tragedy. He wasn't able to spend more time with somebody who actually helped him grow. He knew how to talk to Neil. He knew what Neil wanted out of life, but he was too late. If you take into account gay subtext or gay context, if you were to view their relationship as something intimate, Todd is somebody who just lost their first love. Someone who brought light into his life. Someone who died because he was pushed to the brink when Todd wasn't there to return the favor of taking care of him. Losing a friend can be just as painful, just like in Charlie's pain. But losing a love that you couldn't admit is just as painful, if not more. I will get more in depth about this particular topic in another video for themes and analysis on various topics regarding homophobia and homosexuality of the time. But basically, around that time, you weren't able to really express romantic feelings towards another guy, and even if you had feelings, you would be discouraged or you would try to push it away. So there would be no means for you to admit it to yourself or express it onto the person aside from platonic gestures. So Todd starts smoking after Neil's death. So I did mention that he was smoking a pipe during one of the cave scenes, but particularly he avoided smoking cigarettes. Two differences. Usually you would smoke a pipe in celebration, right? Or at least the way that they were all smoking it was like for fun and like for some sort of recreational boy things. But he hasn't ever smoked a cigarette up until after the singing funeral scene thing. Todd is visibly stressed. You would smoke cigarettes if you're stressed, right? Or at least he smoked a cigarette from stress. That's the thing I want to add. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff about Neil on this. Yeah. So for now, in conclusion, before we make this any longer than it should be,
So beautiful.
whether or not you are actually looking for explicit gay context, we can observe the closeness between Neil and Todd. Their friendship is not matched by Neil's other relationships, and we see the entire movie centered between the two of them. Because even if we dream of a movie that depicts young gay boys that had to go through the 1950s, even if we were shown or implied romance in a film that challenges to find beauty in life, just as in real life, tragedy is one without mercy and hits us in the face just like these boys, just like Todd. So even if I personally viewed the ending as tragic, we're told to have hope, to go forward and still stand for those who have fallen. Like Todd, we are told to look at tragedy in a different perspective. For if the ending of the movie concluded when everyone was holding hands and with everyone happy and just reciting poetry in the cave again, then we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have this video. We wouldn't be watching the movie over and over. We wouldn't be trying to cope. We wouldn't be trying to make sense of our angst, and we wouldn't be trying to make sense of the pain like Todd did. And this is why we often choose romanticism, because we are aware of the bitterness of real life, and we can only truly feel joy when it is stark against the cold, the white blankness of sorrow. This is also why we have many AnderPerry fanfics with Neil being alive, canon divergences, alternate universe where they aren't hurt. Reality is often disappointing, but that's why we write fiction. We use words to shape the reality in our minds to cope and feel human. And I can guarantee, for a fact, Todd wrote so many poems about that part of his life. What kind of is that like a good conclusion? Because I had like a lot more. Like, to be honest, I had way more planned. So just a preview, because this video is way too long, and this was just to be a fun video. This was supposed to be, guys, are you having fun? Are you having fun? I'm having fun. I'm having a great time here. I'm great. So in the next installment, in the next installment, I will be discussing themes. So I may not be discussing romanticism versus realism, because I'm not really like that good at explaining that kind of literary stuff. But I do want to eventually discuss dark academia, what else? Homosexuality and period-typical homophobia. What else? We also have, the blatant hetero problem. Let's see, the differences between Neil's friendship with Charlie and Todd revisited. We will also have straight friendships rooted in similarities, wherein I discuss the theory I have, or at least the analysis I have, about Neil and Todd being mirror images or mirror characters of each other. And please subscribe and please await for that, because I have, this is long, because this paragraph is long, and I really do believe that they're mirror images of each other. Like, they were meant to meet each other, and in a way, Todd Todd replaces Neil and Charlie in their friend group, because now Todd is the more... Anyway, that's gonna make me too sad. So that's the AnderPerry video. Conclusion, aside from the other one, they invented true love. I don't know what else to tell you guys. Look, if you're still here trying to tell me that they were platonic, why did you finish to the end of the video? If you honestly don't see anything romantic between them, I can't I can't really change your mind about that. If you're my boyfriend, this one's for you. But this video is mostly for people like me who ship them, because that's how we cope with that ending. Because it tells us to be hopeful, and damn straight we're gonna be hopeful for a very tragic love story. And that's why the link is in the description for my AO3 fanfictions, because I'm coping so hard, and you guys should really, if you guys really like their ship, I really recommend reading fanfiction. It's good for the soul, and it's good for the brain, because you get to exercise your little noggin with I guess literature. But this whole ship has really challenged me to, one, go back into writing and reading, and like look into things that way. Like if you would have asked me if I was gonna do this kind of video, I would totally believe you. But also, like, I didn't actually think that there was more to just fangirling about this specific ship. I literally just shipped it because I needed to cope with the feelings. But they have layered so many important things in this film. Like, to the point that I think they were supposed to be something like that. I think they were supposed to be implied, or at least they were supposed to be shown more closer to each other. But of course, it was 1989, and the Academy wouldn't want that, and you know. But obviously, if this was made in recent years, they would be a bit more. They would have been a bit more lenient with this kind of relationship and topic. But I think it's fine this way. I think me overanalyzing it is better than having it spoon-fed to me, because it actually, makes me appreciate the production better. Yeah, it makes me appreciate literature better in a way. It makes me appreciate Robert Sean Leonard and Ethan Hawke better. And I will have a separate video just talking about the two of them. The actors, don't worry. I don't personally ship Robert and Ethan together. Just these two. So yeah. So I should probably wrap up this video. So, part 1. Part 1 is here. Basically just my reaction to the whole film after watching it. Just saying there's a lot of rambling in that video, so yeah. It's a bit less scripted than this one. If you guys have comments, please for the love of God, please comment. Please. If it's a mean comment, don't. But if it's like a constructive, fun comment, like telling me other things I missed or probably things that I should like look into, please comment. Tell me your opinions. Tell me your favorite fanfiction. Read my fanfiction. How do you think about my fanfiction? What else? Tell me what I should discuss in my other videos, because I do have the themes planned, the thing I mentioned. Cinematography, fellas. Cinematography and character analysis. Damn. And also, maybe I'll watch other Dark Academia videos. So, yeah. What else should I show you guys? Drawing. Guys, also don't forget, I am an artist. I draw. I did graduate a degree in multimedia arts, but I chose to do this for free, even if I should be doing my other job for money. Link in the description for my social media. What the fuck? This is going too long. Yeah, by the way, this isn't monetized. I'm doing this all for free because I want to. Bye! Link in the description. So, what do you think about the video? Yeah, it's good. I just think there was a lot of like build up with the intro, and we probably over edited some of the parts. Probably went on a bit too long. I don't know, I think you should give it a rest, buddy. Maybe I don't know, maybe start up something else, maybe new fan, maybe you should start working, you should like get back to your actual job. Yeah. What? There's more where that came from. Just you wait. Oh, there she goes.